Hello, 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 and welcome to another episode of WorkHARDAholics. Today, we're going to help you learn the difference between richness and wealth. I have a special guest who will help you understand financial education and literacy that we all need. So, stay tuned. Welcome to the WorkHARDAholic Show with your host, the original WorkHARDAholic, Shirley Crawford, author, speaker, and small business consultant for over 20 years, helping you to work hard, play harder, and business better. Hello, 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 and welcome back to WorkHARDAholics. This is Shirley Crawford, the original WorkHARDAholic. Why? Because I made the word up. All right, on today's episode, I'm really honored because I have a special guest with me, Keva Sturdevant.
Yes, that is it.
I have to make sure, names are really important, so they have to be said correctly. All right, so if you don't know who that is, I don't know why you don't, but you will after today. So, one of my favorite topics is money because it's the number one cause for divorce. It's the number one reason that businesses go out. What made you become interested in financial literacy, education, wealth, strategies, building? What even got you into that arena?
Yes. Well, first of all, let me say thank you for having me on your show. I'm
We
so
are
excited.
honored to have you.
And I'm going to give you a little story. You know, when you get to a certain age, you got stories. My great-grandmother actually was saving to buy a plot of land back in the 1920s. And she was saving at her bank. And when she went to the bank to withdraw her money to buy her plot of land, guess what she was told? You have no account here.
Huh?
Yes. So I remember hearing that story as a kid and thinking, wait a minute, like, did that really happen?
You have no account. I thought maybe
Yeah.
you didn't accumulate any interest or you had in the wrong type of account, so it was just sitting there and no account.
No, because she was a black woman and it was a white-owned bank and
Wow. And they could.
That's what they did back then.
Wow.
So that just always kind of percolated in my soul, honestly. And I knew I was always attracted to numbers. Like when I was a kid, I asked for calculators and cash registers for Christmas gifts.
All geeks unite.
Yes. Right, you too.
Can I just point out, I'm sorry.
Yes.
When I was a kid, one of my favorite gifts that I got, it was the board where you pull up one side. It's like 1 through 12, 1 through 12. And you pull up one side and you pull up the other.
Yes.
And it's how to multiply 5 by 3.
Yes.
And the answer is what shows up. Young people, don't worry about that. Don't worry about that.
I know. I think it must be in the Smithsonian now with our other toys,
Probably.
right? So, yeah, I always had an affinity for numbers. So I knew I was going to be in the financial game. I just didn't know in what capacity. And I actually, I'm from Ohio. I'm a regular old Midwest girl that grew up in Ohio that happened to go to Washington, D.C.
My people are from Ohio.
Oh, I love it.
Sorry, continue.
I love it. Yes.
We're just bonding over here, people. Don't worry about
It's
it.
fine.
It'll be okay.
It's good. And so in 1986, I got an opportunity just to go to Washington, D.C. for the summer. And I'm like, you know what? I've never left my hometown. What the heck? I'm going to go. It changed my life. I had never seen such tall buildings before. I had never seen all the activity.
All the and there's a lot in DC.
And there were actually black people carrying briefcases. I had never witnessed that. I heard about it, but I never saw it. And so I knew I was going to move there and I was going to build my career. I went back home that summer. I packed my belongings and I moved to Washington, D.C.
A woman of initiative.
I just knew I didn't want to, work in the factories. Nothing wrong with it because that's what my family did. But I knew there was something different for me out there, and I saw
And
it.
Ohio is generally such a depressed state.
It is.
Like I know so many people,
It is.
especially since my family is there.
Yep.
So many people move there for the opportunity, like they did with Detroit. And then when all of
Yes.
those positions went elsewhere,
Yeah.
there's very little left.
I went to high school in Detroit.
Wow.
I did.
You did.
Public high school.
Wow. You hit all of them, didn't you?
I did. I
Okay.
did.
Well, we are glad that you are now here in Richmond. So how did you come
Yes.
to be in this area?
Well, actually, I spent 32 years in Washington, D.C., building my career, being a financial planner, a financial coach, whatever you want to call me. And I noticed I just started wanting a shift and a change. I'm not married. Well, I'm soon to be married, but at the time I wasn't married. No children.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So I had all the freedom in the world. And I said, how would I design my life exactly the way I want it? Because DC was coming, just a little bit much for me. And it's not the DC I remember. I love DC because I'm moving back. However, at the time, I wanted a shift. So I wanted to semi-retire. And so I decided to head south. And I decided on Richmond because of my relationship with Virginia State University. I teach there quite a bit. My clients are here. So there was familiarity here, but not too far from DC. So that's how I landed in Richmond.
For those of you who are not native to our area, I always say that because people are like, well, why Richmond? Because I love to travel, love stamps in the passport. Like, why are you still in Richmond? I'm like, really? 2 hours, you can have anything.
Anything.
You can be in big cities. You can be in small towns. You can have the mountains.
beach.
You can have, thank you, the ocean.
Yes.
So people who are landlocked, I don't understand Texas. That's why I'm still in Virginia. But hi.
Oh, and the beauty of Richmond too. Actually, I have fallen in love with Richmond. There's no traffic here. People are nice and they talk to you.
They
No
smile
one's
at
in a
you. Also.
rush.
Yeah.
It's just totally everyone said since I've moved to Richmond, I have a glow. And it's because I don't feel any stress here.
We do like, there's no, it's like click your heels 3 times. There's no place like home. There's no place like home.
Yes.
But I feel that way. Like every time I'm away, I'm like, I can stay away for years and like, okay, it's time to go home now.
Yes.
Thank you
Richmond's
anyway.
Beautiful. I'm going to miss it.
It's a great place, and we're sorry to see you go, especially when we're just getting introduced to you on the show.
Yeah.
But it's
I'll be
okay.
here, though.
We can still track you. We can
Yes.
still, that's the beauty of right now. So COVID has had a lot of drawbacks, but one of the beautiful things is that we're all online now.
Yes.
I can do business and have done business with people all around the world.
That's so true.
But you mentioned about your relationship with VSU.
Yes.
And you also mentioned like that over 30 years of experience.
Mm-hmm.
So I know from unlike the rest of you, reading your bio and your information, Merrill Lynch, various organizations. Mm-hmm. How did that knowledge that you have translate for your desire to work with HBCUs and sharing financial literacy?
Yes. So I spent many years at Merrill Lynch and Morgan Stanley. I actually used to manage the stock option plan for MCI. Remember that telecommunication company? MCI used to manage their corporate stock option plan. So I was gathering all this knowledge. I was so blessed to have such great mentors in the industry. I realized how lucky I was. And as I started to go through and navigate my career, actually an intern from Howard University changed my trajectory. And I have to share this. When I was I think I was Merrill Lynch, I always had an intern every summer. And I always asked for an intern from an HBCU.
Commendable, thank you.
Yeah, of course. And so one day we were in my office, and my interns, I let them sit right next to me and do exactly what I was doing. It wasn't go sharpen a pencil and get coffee.
Yeah.
That wasn't serving them. So he just like followed me throughout my entire day. And one day I was trading and I was buying stocks. And at the time I didn't know he was really super paying attention. But when we were walking to the elevator that evening, that was kind of our thing. We walked to the elevator to let him, when he went to go home, and we would just chat. And he said something to me that changed my life. And he said to me, he called me Miss Keva. He says, Miss Keva, can I buy stock for me too? When I tell you, I almost fell to the floor. Not as in, why don't you know that? As in, why has society told this young black male he can't participate in the stock market? He really didn't know that he could.
Even watching you in action, he still wasn't sure. Oh my.
And I knew then, I've got to gather all this knowledge or keep it and take it to the African American community. And I left my career in actually 2008. I'm not knocking Merrill Lynch. I'm not knocking Morgan Stanley. It just, didn't allow me to serve the community that I wanted to serve, which is our community.
Larger corporations are looking to service larger corporations
accounts.
or larger accounts.
Indeed. Yeah. And I had African American clients also at Merrill Lynch and Morgan Stanley, but it wasn't many.
But part of the reason why I was so excited to have this conversation, because
Yeah.
I'm constantly quoting like Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Yeah.
And so, uh, how is it? How is it, and what can we do about it? The fact that we don't have this financial education. I know that there are
Mhm.
various programs that are doing like credit cards for students and
Yeah.
some other things that are happening, but in general, we don't have, collectively speaking, Black and brown families and communities do
Mhm.
not have the education.
Right.
They don't have the lawyer who's like the uncle or
Right.
pretend uncle,
Right.
or the banker who can, help with
Mhm.
them. They have no idea about a financial plan, which I know
I
I saw
know.
some information that you educate people on.
Yes.
How can we incorporate that?
Mhm.
And exactly how are you servicing to share that information now?
Yes. So one of the big parts of my practice now is building a team around my client because I understood that's what the wealthy do. I know the habits of wealthy inside and out, and I bring that to my clients. I'm telling them what no one else will tell them. The reason why wealthy people are wealthy is because they surround their money with experts. They have a good CPA. And I mean a CPA that recites the code in their sleep, the IRS code in their sleep. I'm talking about a good financial planner or financial advisor. Those are kind of the same thing. A good insurance agent. You
People
need
don't
that.
recognize the importance of that.
You
I have
have
that
to
conversation.
have
They're like,
that.
"What do you mean? I need an
Yeah,
insurance agent?"
you do.
Yeah.
And you need an estate plan in place because that is where we lose the transfer of wealth in our community. We don't have our final wishes in writing. Guess who decides where all of our assets go? A judge.
Oh wow. Yeah.
And
That's
a
true.
judge doesn't have your family's best interests.
And doesn't care. It's
They
like,
don't.
how can we expedite this process?
No. Yeah. Yeah. So it's just that information, and also it's such a change and a shift of a mindset because my clients think, well, don't I have to have a lot of money to have those individuals? No, you just have to find people who you can trust and who care.
And so I'll try not to get too excited because
Yeah.
I'm really passionate about this. I think it's really important. And so, like, as a matter of fact, our producer Christina, we were having this conversation not too long ago.
Yes.
Because even with the ability to be able to trade, to dip into Bitcoin or whatever, it's so much easier now than it's ever been before.
Yeah.
I mean, I think about like Robinhood snacks. Like, you can go onto your phone and have an app and purchase and trade.
Yeah.
But it's scary
Yeah.
when you don't know what you're doing. So what is the education or what are the services that you provide in that arena
Yeah.
to help people know, okay, this is where you should be investing,
Yeah.
this is how much you need to do so, etc.
Great questions. I'm so glad you mentioned the apps because I get this question all the time from my clients too. Well, Keva, should my kid be trading on apps? My initial answer is no, because the apps are not educating the investor on how to minimize risk, how to know a stock is right for you, how to know when to sell your stock, how to look at analytics. And I know this all sounds fancy, but it is all so simple. And so I want their kid to have a positive experience in the stock market. So I educate their teenager, and then you can go and trade on the app. I call it practicing on your money. You don't want to practice on your money. You want to enter the market with a strategic plan because I want you to have a good experience. Now, once you perfect your strategies and how you trade and you've done your research, sure, you could just kind of roll through and trade through your apps, but you know why you're buying what you're buying versus what? Oh, someone's buying it too, so I'm going to buy it.
Yeah.
And I hope it does well. Hope is not an investment strategy. I know it's hardcore, but
I feel like putting that on the shirt,
this
though.
is real.
Hope is not an investment
Hope
strategy.
is not an investment strategy.
Yeah.
So we've got to educate ourselves. So going back to the second part of your question, trade on a major platform like TD Ameritrade, Fidelity, E-Trade. There's so many out there. Charles Schwab, they're discount brokerages. They have wonderful research. Okay, wonderful research. I'm actually doing a course I'm launching on how to manage risk in your portfolio. I'm essentially sharing the 5 keys every investor needs to know. This is what the wealthy do to minimize risk with their investments and hold on more to their money than, let me just throw the dice on this stock and see what happens.
So, but to get out of that gambling mentality, basically.
Yeah.
I know that you have. I still want to dig. I want to
Yes.
learn more about what you provide
Oh,
directly. So it's
sure.
nice that there are other options out there. That's always wonderful. But when we can look at and have a direct referral from the
Right.
person that we know is doing it, has done it well for years, for decades even, and and
30
has the
years.
heart to serve the community,
Mhm.
then so like I know I look at some of your services and you have like a starter plan. Like an introduction to financial
Yes.
planning, to understanding
Mhm.
investment, etc. Can you tell us
Yes.
a little bit more about what happens in that initial plan?
Yes, so it's a course. It's not necessarily a plan. It's a course that I'm teaching. I just recorded it. Christine is amazing. And it's going to be offered on my website. It actually launches tomorrow. I'm so
All
excited.
right, see,
Yes.
we're getting it fresh.
Yes, get it fresh. So it's essentially, again, to manage risk with your investments. What kind of strategies, Kiva, do I need to put around it? It's laid out in this course. Everything you need to look at. Now, what I provide are I'll say a two-prong approach in my practice. Clients come to me and say, Kiva, they dump everything on the table. This is my financial life. Can you fix it for me? That's a financial plan. So I create a
Okay.
blueprint. Okay, we go through whatever it is you want to talk about. Am I on track to retire? How much should I be saving? Can I send my kid to college? We want to go, on vacation once a year. Can we do that? My cash flow is check to check. I make great money. It shouldn't be that way. How do I change
Indeed.
that? So answering all those questions we all have. The other part of my practice is coaching. So I have younger clients, 20s and 30s, come to me like, okay, I'm ready. I done messed up. I didn't listen to my parents.
I already messed up.
I need some, help. But they may not be like perfect for financial planning because they don't have a house yet. They don't have a husband or a wife, So it's like, can you just coach me through some of these things? So I do one-on-one coaching too.
And does that, I always try to figure out, is that just general, here's how we manage our wealth or develop our wealth? Or is it centered around events and activities? So I'm looking to retire, I'm looking to get married. So how exactly do you normally package that information?
I package it based on what the client needs. I mean, there's 8 areas that we can focus. Not everyone needs all 8 areas. So tell me what area you need to focus on. That's what we're going to have one-on-ones about in our coaching sessions.
So okay, I don't know if you follow.
Yeah.
I'm a YouTube geek.
Okay.
I love the people we get to watch and see.
Yes.
And so I don't know if you're familiar with Earn Your Leisure.
I love Earn Your Leisure.
They're my favorite.
Oh, I watch it all the time.
I love them so much. And I often, people, they can be on front, like Wall Street Trapper.
Yes.
Who was formerly a drug dealer, who
Yes.
is now into Starks.
Right.
And
right.
learned how to do so in white collar prison.
Yes.
I'm like, okay, that's how they got there.
Mm-hmm.
And so I love that information. But even in that,
Yeah.
there's still a bridge, there's still a gap.
Yeah, it is.
Especially when talking about that education, because they will go and we're buying, like I think last week they were talking about, we're buying Genius and we're buying Twitter. But if you don't have a plan and you don't have the education,
Right.
we're still coming back to this.
Yeah.
I'm out here gambling instead of understanding. So I'm curious to know, even in your education, I remember I went to a bunch of geeky schools, so my experience is probably not everyone else's norm. But I remember being taught how to read the annual report from companies.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And I know for most people, it's like, okay, they don't understand that when you get a stock, you are now a part owner
Yes.
of a corporation
That's being ran by a board, officers,
right?
And they have stock too.
And so, do you participate in that type of education as well?
I do.
So, I'm curious to know that then if you were meeting with someone for the first time,
Mhm.
outside of them having that general conversation of this is what my need is. Oh,
Yeah.
let's be more specific. I'm aging by the second. And so if I come in, I'm like, you know what? I haven't thought a thing about retirement.
Yes.
I am 52. Hello. Happy to tell you.
That's so young. I'm in my 50s. I'm in my late 50s, but I'm in my 50s.
52 and proud. I just turned 52 a few weeks ago. Birthday presents are still accepted. Thank you. So then how do you go about, what's the game plan that you would recommend?
For someone that's just getting started?
Yeah.
Start today. Open an IRA account for yourself today. If you're employed by, you're a W-2 employee, sign up, make the phone call to HR today and get started contributing to your 401k plan.
And it's so interesting that you would start there because I think that's where we were always told to start
Yeah.
initially. I don't think people understand the real tax benefit
Mm.
of their IRA. And they go, Roth. I mean, I just see people
Yeah.
glaze over
Yeah.
when it comes to the topic of money, but it's
Yes.
the most important topic
It
of
is.
all.
It is. You can borrow for college. You can't borrow for retirement.
Yeah. And we're living longer.
We are living longer.
And
We
so,
are.
yeah.
And then Social Security is a factor. And I get that question all the time.
Is it still going
Is
to
it
be around?
going to be around? I wish I had the crystal ball and I knew
Yeah.
that. I say to my clients, plan as if you're going to receive half of what you are projected to receive.
I am hoping that I'm going to get half.
Right, half. Ain't that
I
crazy?
am hoping.
I know. I
I'm
know.
just like, okay, when we're making our financial, I'm like, okay, really, I'm like, if it's a third.
Right.
And the funny thing for me is that I have been receiving my statements, my Social Security statements since I was a freshman in college.
Mhm.
And everyone's like, why are you getting these? I'm like, I've been working a long time.
Yes.
And so
yes.
like, I'm almost fully vested and I'm
Mhm.
just in college.
Yeah.
But looking around, that was a time for me to realize that people still didn't get it. They don't understand like
No.
Social Security. I'm like, I'm thinking about the fact that I'm not too far from retirement. I don't expect Social Security to be there.
Right.
I either expect them to extend the age to 90
Mhm.
or for it not to be present at all.
Yes. I'm sorry, finish your point. Finish your point.
That's just part of my
Okay.
amazement with that whole thing.
Yeah.
And so then when people are budgeting
Mhm.
for retirement, I know once when I had my numbers run, which most people haven't,
Mhm.
that I technically, if I want to retire at 65, which is not that far away now, I needed to have $1.5 million.
Mhm.
And others are like, that most people aren't running those numbers. They have no idea.
Right.
And then they're going, okay, so what does that mean?
Yes. The beauty of numbers, if I can just interject really quick.
I love numbers.
The
Please,
beauty of numbers, as you know, is an exact science. We can dial into exactly what you need to be saving every month to get to your goal. It's as simple as that. I actually did an interview recently, and I talked about, just how do you begin to kick off a retirement savings, right? I say this. Let me say this. There's no difference between you and I and the next millionaire. The only difference are the habits and the consistency that the wealthy surround their money with and the expertise. Everyone has that opportunity to do that. The only question is, do you do it? That's it. That's it. I know I'm sharing some things, but it's so important to understand that. And here's the other piece too. If you know you need to start saving $500 a month for retirement, I'm just picking a number out the air. Create a lifestyle that allows you to do that.
Exactly.
It's as simple as that.
And
most people don't want to create the lifestyle to do that.
And I don't know if it's a matter of, like, I feel like we talk a lot about seniors around here.
Yeah.
And just because I'm looking around and I don't want a senior that I know to have to work at Walmart.
What if you're in bad health in your 70s and you can't work? What then?
But to me, the meatiest reason that one should really be thinking about these things, because when you're 20, which is, I know, the best time to start making the investments.
Yeah.
We were looking at some of the numbers before, whereas if you started investing in your 20s versus later, you could still have the same amount, but that compound interest is
you have
so
more.
much greater if you only started a little earlier. And so I don't know if there's a Scared Straight series that we need to do for financial literacy and education and that wealth strategy building. But there has to be something. And I think that's part of the reason why I love the idea that you're working with HBCUs, that you're working with people in that college age period, right before they're getting that really great first job.
Right.
And so they can start socking money away, because that was the philosophy I always had. It was like, okay, if they're taking it out of my check before I even see my check, then I'm living on the rest. I'm not. I never touch it. I never see it. It's not even a thought in my mind.
Yeah. No, I think it's a good thing. I'm going to share this with your listening audience, and hopefully it's going to bring it on home for individuals. If you, let's say, for example, want $50,000 a year in your retirement, that means you need $500,000 for every 10 years you're in retirement. I don't say that to scare people. I say it to wake them up of the urgency. Because
Yes.
essentially, if you live 20 years, that means you need $1 million. That's 50,000. 10 years is $500,000. Well, we at least want to live 20 years in retirement. You need $1 million. Now, do you need $1 million the day you retire? No, you don't. But you need pretty close to it because you want it to continue to grow as you, I call it pinch off of it. That's what my grandmama used to say, as you pinch off of it, right? But you want to get to as close to that number as possible, and professionals can get you there. They can get you there.
And what are I know we can't get into a whole financial session,
Yeah.
but in general, so like I said, for that person who's just getting started, let's talk about two different individuals.
Mm-hmm.
So once again, that college student,
Yeah.
They have more time to do more risky things,
Right.
and then that other person who's getting ready for retirement, but who has not properly prepared for retirement. What are, if you could give them two pieces of advice for
Sure.
each of those time periods, what might that be?
Great question. So for the younger person, $100 minimum per paycheck goes to retirement.
That's so easy.
$100. Do you know how easy $100 is
That is
blown?
so easy.
Right? So I call it the on-off approach. When I was in my 20s, I was hanging out too, right? I was seeing,
Hey.
hanging out with my friends, doing happy hours, doing all that kind of stuff. So essentially, 2 weekends hang out, 2 weekends stay home. So the money you would have spent on those other 2 weekends goes into your retirement. Okay, it's so easy, but it's hard to start. But once you get it started, it's so much easier.
Yeah.
Here's another thing too. Start ignoring your raise. When you get a raise, just ignore it.
Okay.
And just put it away in your retirement. And that's for any age. For the other individual that may be a little later in life getting started, just as I said earlier, just start today. Today is the day you start. And connect with a professional that can walk you through and run your numbers, that essentially you'll feel like, okay, now I know what direction I'm moving in, versus this cloud, I don't know, but it's easy to ignore because I don't want to see the monster behind the curtain, because I know there's a monster behind the curtain.
And they're ignoring it.
And
So many people are ignoring it. And I'm just
Yeah.
like, I don't know how you can.
I know.
The urgency is it's so real. It's so important.
It
And
is.
but you mentioned something else that I think goes back to what you were talking about, surrounding your money
Mm-hmm.
with the proper type of resources.
Mm-hmm.
How do people connect in with that? So I know, like, we're here at the Women's Business Center. We're fortunate. That's something we get to do for our people. Like,
Right.
oh, you need a CPA? Here's a list of 3. You need an attorney? Here are 3. Here's someone we can connect you into.
Yeah.
But most people, especially those that don't have that wealth strategy mindset,
Right.
how do they know where to connect in to get those types of resources?
Yes. So I put that together for my clients, but if you're just on your own and need to put that together, I call it, just start going on this tour of interviewing professionals and tell them, I'm looking to put together a team.
I'm sorry. I think I'm in love, because that is one of the things that we talk about. I always talk about, you should interview your banker.
Yeah, you should interview.
And so,
yeah.
I actually did this blog post like eons ago that I'm dating for my business,
Yeah.
and that's what it's all about. How
Yeah.
you literally have to go out with the mentality of, you don't have to take the first person you talk to. You are not obligated. I have a list of 25 questions to ask your banker.
Mhm.
This is what you should be asking that attorney. This is what you should be asking. So I always love that affirmation. That's
Absolutely. Yeah. You've got to go out and interview at least 3 CPAs, 3 insurance agents, 3
Mhm.
financial planners. An estate plan is kind of a estate plan. It's not that complicated. A person, an individual can write your estate plan, but at least those 3 people: your insurance agent, your financial planner, and your insurance person. And tell them, again, you're forming a team. You expect the team to meet on your behalf annually, and they need to dial into that. I believe that's so essential. Sometimes my clients will come to me and say, Keva, well, how often do you meet with your clients? I'm like, how often do you want to meet? I work for you. I don't dictate how often I'm going to meet with you. Tell me what you need.
People get that philosophy. It's like, you're paying for a service.
Yeah, I work for you. When people pay me the retainer, I work for you now. How often do you want to meet? You tell me.
Okay, so for those of you who are out there and you're realizing, we hope that you're realizing the need to focus on your financial literacy, your education, your understanding. And I have to get back to the term wealth strategies. I know we're about to wrap up, but I really would like you to speak to that.
Yes. Wealth strategies or
Yes.
strategies to build wealth?
Yes.
You got to be in the stock market. Number one. I'm going to give you a quick example if we have time.
We do. We will make time for this information.
Yep. I'll use Starbucks. This by no means is any recommendation to buy Starbucks. I want to be clear on that. But Starbucks went public in 1992. It was $17 to buy one share of Starbucks. I actually had a client buy $17,000 worth of Starbucks. He bought 1,000 shares because he had just gotten his bonus.
Okay.
Today, fast forward, that $17,000 is worth over $4 million. If that, my friends, is not an example of how to build wealth, I don't know what is. Now, can I tell you the many bad days that Starbucks had as a stock from 1992 to here? And it just proves the point. Longevity in the market always wins. Always.
I was always taught that if you're putting into the stock market, that you're going to look at 10 years as the average before you're going to get like the real return.
Yeah.
So you have to be able to invest. And I'm not going to say leave it alone, but invest.
Touch it.
And not be so, because I've seen people who will invest in the stock market and constantly calling their broker, oh, they had a bad day, sell. I'm like, okay, you're
When
paying fees,
yeah.
and you're doing all,
You're locking in your loss when you sell.
And there you go, locking in your loss. Is there anything else you want to share with us? Did you finish your story? I know you were telling us about the stock market. I got excited. Sometimes I interject. I get excited about the budget.
Good. No, this has been wonderful. Just don't forget to surround your money with experts. That is essential. That is key. Connect with people you can trust. That's going to tell you the truth. And it's a journey. Financial planning is not, I took an hour class, now I'm going to be fine. It is a journey, and I tell my clients that all the time. I'm going to take you on a financial journey, and when we're done, you are going to be able to soar on your own. The goal isn't to pay me for the rest of their lives. The goal is for me to empower, educate, put in place the blueprint, and see my client soar. That's the goal.
Okay, I have to ask this one more question.
Yes, please.
So, if someone is looking to start investing, what's the best amount to start with?
Yeah, $50. Doesn't take a lot of money. Yeah, just get started. So you can buy one share at a time, one stock at a time.
And so if you're out there, we're not going to, I want to ask personally about drips and some other things, but we're going to skip all that because this is just to get you started. So when we talk about resources and surrounding your money, I'm going to say for you all, here's a good way to get started. The key to your financial literacy and success is to be able to connect with Keva Sturdevant. And we want to make sure that you all make that connection. Please let them know.
Yes.
I know the course is coming out.
Yes.
How can they reach you?
Yes. Keva Money Coach on Instagram. Keva Money Coach is my handle. I'm sound fancy when I say that.
You did.
I'm of a particular age,
so smoothly.
you know, so I'm on Instagram. I'm proud of that. But that's the best way to get me. And I do answer my own.
For now.
Yeah, I do. Everyone's like, dude.
As she blossoms and grows, she might not talk to you directly, but she'll always make sure it's someone who is on it.
Absolutely.
Well, I just want to say for the record, I'm really honored to have met you.
Oh, thank
It
you.
has truly been a pleasure. I'll be harassing you soon. And
It's okay.
so for those of you who are listening, I really sincerely hope that it wasn't just you like the sound of our voices. I really hope that you really take in the fact that the time for you to take care of your money is now. And if you're looking for a resource, especially to surround your money with the proper resources, we're going to say, please be sure to reach out to Keva Sturdevant. One more time, Keva
Money Coach.
Keva Money Coach and we're all on IG, people. Our various ages, we're still there, connecting so you can do better for your future. And as we always say, live better, do better, be better, and happy entrepreneuring. Ta-ta! Like, share, subscribe, repeat. Like, share, subscribe, repeat. Like, share, subscribe, repeat. 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 Thanks for tuning in to WorkHARDAholics. Support our show by following on YouTube and all major social media platforms at WorkHARDAholic. Until next week, happy entrepreneuring.